How can I possibly fill this space? This is one of the first questions that came to my mind when I got invited to do a show in the main gallery. Conceptualizing for a solo exhibition has never been easy for me. I intentionally challenge myself to do something I've never done before. It's always been a way for me to exercise my creativity apart from doing the actual works for an exhibition. So for the brightest part, I thought of combining sculpture and painting, in which the framed prints are the objects while the lights act as the pigment. Since the start of the pandemic, I couldn't help but create works that circle around it and its repercussions. So the brightest part was no exception to that, as it was conceived and created during such a time. Prior to this show, I also did a solo exhibition entitled The Length and Breadth of Depth that directly addressed the duality of spaces that visual art has been confronted with during the height of the pandemic. That being, physical exhibitions became futile, making room for online exhibitions to thrive. So for that show, I presented paintings of shadows exclusively shown online while having its 3D printed counterparts shown in the actual exhibition space. So in a way, the brightest part is a sort of sequel to that show. I now focused on the metaphor of shadows, like Plato's allegory of the cave. I wanted to give importance to all these elements that make up the projected shadows. The intention was to create these beautiful illusions of sunlight while revealing its trickery. The title of the show, The Brightest Part, is actually a reference to a YouTube video I came across while in production. It was titled The Brightest Part of a Shadow is in the Middle, a concept theorized by the French mathematician Poisson, wherein given a coherent light source and projecting it onto a perfectly spherical object, it would produce a shadow with a bright dot directly at its center. So it was coincidental and also an interesting idea to think about considering the nature of the exhibition. So as the viewers walk around the space, they are now in the midst of these objects and projections, making them integrated with the whole installation. So then, looking back to my previous self, asking how I can possibly fill the space, that question actually seems as amorphous as the show appears to us. In this whole investigation of the notion of spaces, we're still sort of stuck in between two dimensions in some sort of limbo, like partially being uploaded and downloaded to web servers bit by bit, like in a constant state of buffering, going nowhere fast.